G'day guys, well just got the Patrol back from up north yesterday. Had to be trucked back because it had a few little things go wrong with it on the old coach road, as everyone saw. So we're going to get it on a hoist and do a damage report, and where else would I take it but Craig from Highfields Mechanical, because he's the guru. And let's face it, it is actually all Craig's fault, because before it had a supercharger on it, it didn't quite have as much nuts. But anyway, no, it's all my fault. But Craig is the trusted guru that I go to, so mate, what are we going to do?
Welcome back, mate. Welcome back. Yeah, we better get this thing checked out, and see what, what's gone. It's going to be surprises for me.
What did you leave loose? What did you leave loose?
I think it comes down. I think it comes down to two words, mate. Two words, and one's mechanical, and the other one's sympathy.
Oh.
No.
Apparently, I've got no mechanical sympathy. I cop that a lot. But I thought these Patrols were tough.
Well, you found the limits of that, so.
No, they are very, very tough.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors that come into play with why things break and so forth, but we'll stick it up and have a look and go over some of that stuff and work out why, and go from there.
Righto, I'm excited. Let's get her on the hoist.
Let's do it.
This will be interesting, folks. Armstrong steering. This is going to be very tight to get in and out. I reckon he probably need to move a couple of cars, but he might have some talents that I don't know about yet. Yeah, steering will be good. You should have been trying to steer it with a flat tyre yesterday. Just bought a KTM or a Yamaha, it would have been fine. Tell you what, he's got more skills than I gave him credit for. There was like that much room between there, the side of the car and the wall, and it's got no power steering. He's done that a few times. Righto guys, apparently I need to open the bonnet, which I think is a bit unfair because we've got the tallest man known in the world over here.
I'm going to watch this.
See, I'm not that short. I just surround myself with really, really tall people. Look at this.
I'll get the rest.
See, I can't even push it up.
Good to go.
Anyway, we're ready to lift her up.
We'll take it up and we'll have a look and see
what damage we've actually done.
Reuben's damage report. Righto, we'll get into it.
My head than his, so it's got to go all the way up, which means it's good for me. I won't be hitting my head on anything. Do they make a hoist tall enough for you to work under that?
That's why I've got this one. Now I've watched some footage of this when it broke. Yeah. And I've got a few ideas of what's wrong and why it happened. So.
Why it happened?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be me.
We'll get some trays off it and we'll have a look and see what we can find, eh?
Righto. You do the spinning and I'll do the whole thing. So, rooted for everybody means it doesn't work anymore.
There's certain terms that we use in a workshop that we won't have to. Righto, that's that one.
Half a 𝗕𝗢𝗚𝗚𝗘𝗗. That was fabulous. Look at that. Hey Craig, is it supposed to look like that?
Not at all, mate. Not at all.
That's nearly 2 fingers.
That's a two-piece steering rack, which
holy dooly.
I've never seen before. So any wonder it's so hard to damn well steer.
Yeah. Well, there's no fluid in it for sure. That's all been pumped out.
That's where it came out.
Tell me this, if I've pumped all that out and I've driven 100 odd Ks, is my power steering pump going to be buggered as well?
He won't be real happy about it because they need oil to lubricate, and that's,
the bush, is that a bush or a bearing?
There'll be bearings in there and then vanes in there as well. So
and it'll be all dry and that'll all be buggered as well.
Yeah, and that's where it'll come out. Now, again, I said to you before, I looked at the footage, and to get an explanation on how that has happened, if you look at it where you've come up that steep climb.
And wheels are in the air.
Wheels are off the ground, so the wheels have come from this position to that position. So you look at the toe in on them and it's just insane. And then you've hit the ground under load, those wheels have snapped back like that. And that's obviously just torn that steering rack clean apart. Just smashed it too. So we've actually got the steering rack broken in two. And wow. All that's left in there is the actual rack itself.
Unbelievable. So that's slipped. So that has actually slipped through. So that is why, have a look how much that's shifted out this side. So if I'd driven that any more, I would have had the chance of that wheel completely going left on me and then sending me scrub.
Well, that part of the rack's moved out a good 1.5 inches. What's that in millimetres for the people who don't understand?
Must be 32 mil, I reckon.
32 mil, so...
actually, about 37 mil, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, that's...
It's not quite 1.5 inches. I reckon it's about 30 mil in there. It's over an inch anyway. It's nasty, nasty.
So the good thing about it, the ends of the rack are okay. It's just the middle bit that's broken.
Yes, that'll be a whole new rack.
It will be.
And a new power steering pump.
Yeah.
But I didn't break a tyre rod in.
No, they survived.
And I think we know what's happening with the transfer, don't we? Because it's got no load in. When you put in high range four-wheel drive, it seems to be fine, doesn't sort of neutralise. When you put it back into normal road going gears, it actually spreads the load between the front and the back. And what we've been finding, it'd drive for a little bit like normal, and then it'd actually neutralise. And we think that it was actually trying to, it's a pretty smart sort of transmission. I think it was trying to send all the power back down to the back wheels to drive, because they're going, oh, it's not taking much to drive that. And then it would feel like it neutralises. And then when you'd pull up and you go to put it in park, the tail shaft was still spinning and it'd make a clicking noise like you're still rolling forward. So we don't think there's anything wrong with the box or the transmission at this point, because it seems to drive fine in four-wheel drive. We think
it's in the back.
There's something more catastrophic in the back.
Yes. So I've come down the back. Let's start on the left-hand side and work our way in. So over here, and you already put...
Well, this was a new CV that we put on in the track that everybody saw. I didn't even put that much pressure on it, but maybe because it was sending all the drive through one wheel.
Yep.
And the front, because it had a lot of weight on the back and the front wheels weren't really driving at all, I was trying to put it all through that. And you reckon it was just too much for one CV shaft?
Yeah, more than likely. So
and that's an aftermarket shaft as well. It's not a genuine one, which I found in the past, aftermarket CVs don't seem to last. When you're rough on it, like I am, in the scrub, don't seem to last as well as the aftermarket ones. But look, horses for courses, they're readily available, the aftermarket jobs. But
yeah, they're not, look, end of the day, they're not designed. Like these tyres and wheels, they're going to be in the vicinity of 55 kilos as a unit. And when you've got, we've supercharged it, so we've got more power, more torque coming to all the wheels, and you're sticking that through 55 kilos. When it comes off the ground, hits the ground and bites, there's so much torque on that stuff.
And we've changed diff gears as well, so it's got all the 100% ratios to make those tyres drive like a standard drive line with a whole heap of ponies. It's probably not a great combination, is it?
So I think, to be clear with it, it's not Nissan's fault. Like Nissan have built a damn good car, but like we like modifying things, eh? We like building things to suit ourselves, and you've done an awesome job with the build on this thing. But we found the limit of.
I am partial to a bit of a Reuben Rev.
So we found out what's not Reuben proof. So
Well, the CV definitely isn't.
CV's not. That's done. The diff.
So if we turn this, should that turn the drive shaft?
It should. Yep.
So why is the drive shaft not turning?
Because there's something broken in here.
Something broken in the diff centre.
So if we turn the drive shaft, if we come up here and turn the drive shaft,
look, there's a CV turn over here.
We get that one turning, hold that one, lock it up, and it should turn the right-hand side, but it doesn't.
No, so it's not doing a single thing.
Yeah, we've got an issue in our diff centre inside there.
And what do you reckon that could be? Because I haven't pulled one of these apart. Okay, I know it's got a factory diff lock in it, and then the fellas at work, the lads in my workshop, pulled it apart and put diff gears in it. I actually wasn't there when they did that, so I don't know exactly how this shaft goes, but could there be a shaft broken here into the diff centre? Like
more than likely. So either the end of that shaft where it goes into the diff's going to be broken, or the diff centre itself is going to have some issues in the gears in there. So
should we drain the oil?
We'll have a look. Yeah, we'll get that out and have a look.
Oh no, folks, I've done it again. Well, folks, the truth will be, how much metal comes out of these. They usually have a magnet on these though, so we should be able to get a bit of a telltale of how much metal comes out on the end of this bolt. I'm hoping it's just a broken axle. Surely there's got to be an axle that goes like that goes in there. So we'll pull this CV off. I think there was enough in there.
We'll put it there, save it going over the floor. Grab us.
Hold on, mate. Let's put it back that way in case it gets a bit excited.
You're going to shoot over me, you reckon?
Yeah, as long as it shoots over you.
Oh, here she comes. Oh, that first bit's come out pretty yucky.
That looks very sludgy and horrible.
If we look at that stuff on there, and obviously that's metal because it's stuck to a magnet.
Yeah.
But that should be nice and clean. Fortunately, I was surprised. I was expecting some bigger bits of metal to come out of that, but
maybe I'm right. Maybe it is just an axle broken and it hasn't done a pinion, or because if you broke a tooth off a pinion or or star gears or something in there,
we'd have some bigger bits on there.
Absolutely, surely.
That oil though is, and if you look at the bottom of that, this I guess the.
Well, have a look. I don't know if you can see on there. Look at all the little bits of metal sticking up, like there's some contaminants in there. It's like it's been grinding. That looks like grinding paste. Anyway, time will tell.
So there's certainly something in there that needs addressing. And yeah, take a look at that. You can look in the bottom of that oil there. That would ideally be clean on a good day.
Anyway, Craig, before we rip this wheel off, mate, I've got to tell you a bit of a story. So there was some little rock gremlins that were cruising around on the PDR that got themselves in between the airbag and the sleeve and rubbed a hole in the airbag. So then I had a fair bit of weight in the car here, and I've got some lighter springs in it, so it's better for wheeling. I was sort of relying too much on the airbags on this instance. So it was sort of hitting the bump stop going through some things. So I actually made a bit of a modification to the bump stop. So when we pull this wheel off, mate, there's a bit of a surprise in there.
I'm excited to have a look at that. Did you ride that by yourself or what?
Oh, I think so.
Take a look at that.
Have a go at my bump stop fix. So there's a bit of a story to that.
You should have stayed out a bit longer. I would have been like to see what you would have done with a steering rack out of wood. Going back to the Flintstones.
Absolutely. Maybe the brake pads need to go to put some timber ones in there.
Actually, you got your money's worth out of them too.
Oh, holy moly, they're down. But yeah, so a bit of a story. That was my actual jack block.
Oh,
and, and I needed 2 bits of timber, and all I had was a chainsaw, and I had one very game man stand on each side of that timber.
Oh, you
with
cut
the
it.
chainsaw. There we cut it so we had 2 pieces to make the height right.
So who you got to buy a carton for standing on that timber?
That was Jesse, our good mate Jesse Gleason.
Brave, very brave.
Yeah, so we probably don't need that in there anymore. We might use a knife to chop that. I think that did well, that little strap.
Amazing how good
that strap did really, really well.
Timber can be, mind your fingers. This is going to be the bluntest.
As sharp as your beamer.
Well,
it did really, really well. Nice bit of hardwood. And that, look.
Take a look at it. That's where the bump stop's been hitting.
So I was wondering, when it came off that hill, had a lot of force, and that bump stop would have hit really hard on there, but I thought it might have bent this arm, but it doesn't look like it's bent that arm at all.
No, the arms, I think the arms survived. It
certainly knocked it out of wheel on it.
Yeah, it still looks intact, but I think there'll be a lot of geometry changes from that hit. Just from force on bushes and all that sort of stuff, so yeah, that's the airbag that rubbed through. That's another one.
No, I actually changed that.
Yep.
We picked up a second-hand airbag off for a bloke at
Did you really?
Bramwell Station. And I fitted that in the middle of the bush at the Frenchman's, actually.
You know, it's easier to fix things in the shop.
Well, it is. It certainly was. So obviously, to get that spring and airbag out, we had to have all this
that would have been a challenge.
Down,
It would have been a big challenge.
Oh yes. We found out how tough the tray was. We were ratchet strapping off there, pulling that whole thing up. So it was.
Yeah, it's done its job.
Yeah.
So we're up to brake pads now too. So your brake pads,
pads,
diff, steering rack.
Well, how about it? This is the 4th time I'm giving away something epic. Now, this time around, you've got a choice between Big Gloria and 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗘. It's a sad day for me if you choose that. If you don't choose that, you get 150 grand cash. Now, it's so simple to enter. Go to the DMW website, go to the store and get yourself a gift voucher. That is the only way to enter. Get yourself a gift voucher. Then you can proceed to buy whatever you want on the website. So it's that simple. Big Gloria, if you choose Gloria, I'm going to be so sad. 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗖𝗥𝗕𝗘, we've had so many memories. Or I could just give you 150 grand cash. Anyway, guys, slip into it, get yourself those entries, and I could be giving it all to you.
So just checking Reuben's air cleaner here, and for all those that want to know, that's the clean side, obviously. That's the dirty side. A good way to check an air filter, just grab a light and shine a light behind it. Now we can see light through that. If you can see light, you can see air, but you can't see air, you get air through. So that one's pretty dirty, quite blocked to be honest. So yeah, he's going to be up for an air filter as well. Something I probably didn't explain to you fully maybe before you left is we got you to change that supercharger pulley from an 85mm to a 90mm. And there's a reason behind that, because where you went you couldn't get...
So we went to detuned it for 91, didn't we?
Yeah, so yeah, we detuned that for 91 octane fuel because these engines need high octane.
Well, especially so Series 5 you can run 91 octane in standard, but as we put the supercharger on it, you put the decent tune in it.
Yeah.
I lost the opportunity to run 91, didn't I? So we had to do something to get it so it ran on 91.
So essentially we detuned it back by putting a bigger pulley on it, which lowered the boost on it.
Yep.
Decreases the combustion pressures a bit, and you know.
Well, I still ran octane boost as you recommended all the time, so I had 91 and octane boost. But one thing I can tell everyone at home, with it being detuned and running on 91, the fuel economy is nowhere near as good as when it's on full boost with the actually full tune in it and running on 98.
Yeah. So backing that boost off, essentially we were trying to protect the engine for you, which we've probably succeeded in doing because it drove you home. So by keeping the fuel up and decreasing the boost, you've suffered more fuel economy, but we got you home with a good engine. So
yeah, that's it.
But we'll get that slightly smaller pulley put back on there so it gets back to the full tune that it was. And you might have broken 4 CVs if we had had that smaller pulley on there.
Well, I reckon it's got, in low range first gear, it'd have to have well over 2,000 Newton meters torque.
Well, we saw it on the dyno when we third gear run on the dyno. I think it made like 11 or 1,200 Newton meters.
Yeah, and that's in third gear high range.
Yeah, that vertical climb that you did, hard as it was, and the noises that you can hear on the video when it breaks, I was expecting more damage. There's some substantial damage in there, but I'm sort of quite surprised there wasn't more to it.
Well, I'm actually really surprised. I mean, for starters, we know the front diffs, nothing wrong with that, or the front CVs. Didn't break the front CV or a diff. It drove me hundreds of Ks in front wheel drive. I had to have it in high range four-wheel drive to do it, because obviously it was locks the centre diff, you can drive from the front wheels. So this front end's all right, it was just the steering rack I've blown apart.
Yep.
And we'll be able to just use the centre rack. We'll be able to use the rack ends, won't we? Should be able to?
Yeah, it's the housing that's broken.
The housing that's
broken.
The
internal part should be fine. It's the housing that's broken. Just let all the oil out. So,
is that like how they pack smoke into like electrical items?
Exactly.
And then when something shorts, it lets the smoke out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you've broken that one good. So, so look, that's from a attrition in the front. And like I said, I'm going to put that down to big tyres, heavy tyres, lots of torque, heavy load in an impact, and yeah, it just couldn't take it. So, again, I don't think that's Nissan's fault. I think that's just the situation.
Why is everybody picking on me?
And then we go to the back of the car. Look, it's been through a lot. Like, you know, the load you're taking, the stuff you've done before that point where it broke.
Yeah.
Look, credit to the car and credit to what it's handled.
Absolutely, and it was a full GVM too, so we had so much stuff in that canopy. I had spares, tools, cooking gear, camping gear, like you name it, 10 on top. Like if you're talking 55, 60 kilos per tyre, 120 kilos right off the back with those twin spares.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, exactly, yeah.
And 180 litre fuel tank right at the 140 litre fuel tank all the way at the back as well, full of fuel.
So it's asking a lot of all those mechanical components to do a job in a situation where
it shouldn't have been doing it. Okay, I'll put my hand up. I shouldn't have gone up there. Well, on these trips you need to take a lot of gear with you, and that leads into GVMs as well. So we build these cars, you know, really, really well to handle big GVM. Now, they're not supposed to do vertical rock faces, okay, and try and drive that stuff at full GVM. This is why I do the stuff, to make sure that when you guys buy the vehicle off us at full GVM, and it's going to handle normal four-wheel driving that most people are going to do. Not many people out there are going to try and do a full-on rock step where, like, I suppose a competition four-wheel drive may even have a bit of drama getting up there. So you have to take spares, have to take all your camping gear, everything else like that. That's even before beer and food. So the big thing is, make sure your GVM's right, and maybe just don't do vertical rock steps and giving it a Reuben rev at the same time. So I'm pretty proud of myself this time, Craig.
Yeah, why is that, mate?
Mate, I didn't come back with any panel damage. And look, and you can go around and you can see if there's any panel damage from this trip.
That's what you're taking for a walk and see, eh? Just to
what do you
prove
reckon?
Yeah, well, we've got broken mechanicals, and if I look down that side, it's a straight as. So you've done well there. The tray stood up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's
so
good.
that there's from the other trip.
That's from the previous
from the other trip. That's all good there. So we've got toolbox here. It hasn't really taken much of a hit.
And we come over this side, and it's as good as the other side.
And it's still got a pinstripe from up in the territory.
And if I have a look down there,
no dent.
Straight as. Straight as. So you're improving.
Yeah. So I didn't bend the car per se. I
just broke it.
Broke stuff.
Well, that's a good sign, because that vertical climb, there was probably option there to do panel damage. But,
absolutely. It's been down Palm Creek, it's been down Gunshot, it's driven some mad stuff in big bog holes where it is actually like right touching everything.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
No, you've done well.
And what I need to say is that you guys saw it break on the episode of 4Drive 24/7 in the old Coach Road. But what people don't realise is that it actually had done 2 episodes in the Territory towing the boat. It's done the Telly track, and it's done the Frenchman's track as well, and it towed a car most of the Frenchman's track, and towed them through a river and towed them up massive rock steps. So this thing has done a massive amount of work, and for me to bust it just on that hill, it's all my fault. Got nothing to do with the car.
So you did all that work before you broke it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
before
well.
I broke it.
So she'd been through a bit.
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to pull this diff out, because Craig is a bit of a guru at these things. My money, it's broken a shaft in here. Craig's not certain that I'm right, so we'll actually see in a minute. But first, before we pull the diff out, we've got to pull the long range tank out, pull the CVs off, diff cage off, all that sort of stuff. So bear with us for a few minutes. Have a go at that aftermarket. That is absolutely very crap metallurgy if you have a look at that. That may as well be 250 grade steel that you make a ute tray out of. Well, we've had to pull the rear fuel tank out to get to the diff here, and Craig, he's making some of his boys in the workshop work on hand tools, so I think it's only fair that he uses hand tools on here as well. What do you reckon, folks at home? Get him back swinging them how he used to back in the day.
Bit of touch, to be honest.
Anyway, all jokes aside, the tail shaft's coming out. Diff cage will come off, which the diff cage is all held on with all the same nuts and bolts that hold the diff centre in. The CVs are out. Should be just 4 bolts now, and the diff will be down, and we'll put it on the bench, and then Craig can work his magic, pull it all apart and show us what actually happened when I gave it a Reuben rev. This mate, not a Reuben size tray.
We'll stick him in that way.
Right, whichever way you like it to go in, mate. Oh. Oh, 3 bonds coming out already. Roll him over, maybe. Oh, what have we got in here? Right, doesn't, here's the busted one. That's a shaft for sure. Just have a look at this. Well, nothing's turning, that's spider gear. So, we can always put the cap back on.
Here we go. So, Reuben.
I've bust the shaft.
That's broken.
Yeah, so I've done the little intermediate axle.
So there's meant to be a piece on here, about that long with some splines on it.
And it'll be in there somewhere.
And it'll be down in this hole.
Yeah.
So
it's not centre though. It's just...
No, well you were right. You said it would be the shaft.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's the shaft. So that's what a good one looks like.
And that's what that one looks like.
And that's what a not so good one looks like.
So, let's say, right, I carry, if this ever happens again, I carry a spare one of these, and then I should be able to see, there's the spline in there.
Yep.
We should be able to just, you got a drift.
If we put that in there. So there's 2 ways of doing this. You can carry a spare one of those.
And we wouldn't have had to take the centre out.
Or
but
don't
that doesn't
do
matter,
vertical
but we...
lines.
No. But there you go. I thought I busted a centre. That centre is huge, but for that to break that, it's come down super hard. So that's sheared that there in the diff, and it's sheared the spline in the passenger side. Well, that's a lot better than I was thinking. That's one of those, which will be probably a similar cost to a CV, let's face it.
Yeah.
CV is more complicated than that, but knowing a manufacturer, they'll charge you.
Yeah, exactly, because that'll be a genuine part, no doubt.
How easy would that be to fix on the track? That'd be
Take a look
super
at it,
easy on the
folks.
track. CVs are so simple to pull out. Just drop them. You know that's busted. Pop them out on the side of the track. I need to buy one of these folks to take with me, because my little bar that I use for CVs doesn't cut it. That there looks like it's could be utilised for lots of things.
And then that metal that we've got in the oil will be from that just
grinding away.
grinding against that. So
yeah, and that's why there was no big chunks and it was just paste.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen the inside of that car, we didn't show anyone that, did we? It was full of dust and mud and dirt. Well, it's better than the last time you saw it when we had to go to the panel shop next door.
your kids will be earning some money, I'd say.
Well, Craig, today wasn't as bad as I expected. I was expecting a massive, big fix, you know, and massive amounts of parts, but realistically, we've got front steering rack, which is now a multi-piece steering rack. Should be in one piece, but it's in 2 pieces.
Made a mess of that. You got your left-hand drive shaft.
Yeah.
Left rear.
Yeah.
I do the right rear as well.
Yeah.
And then we've got the 2 output shafts or half shafts out of the diff.
Yeah.
So one's broken and one will be probably fatigue.
Yeah, fatigue. So
And then just the other, just normal maintenance bits and pieces, I think. So
yeah, so we found some brake pads need doing.
Yeah.
Needs a service. Like if you do a big trip like that, highly recommend go to your local, shop, or if you're very handy on the tools, do it yourself. And if you're in the local neighbourhood of here in Highfields, make sure you come see Craig, because he's good at fixing stuff, as you know.
I know I'm going home dirtier than what I turned up.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a lot of cake dust under there, but that's all cool.
And I'm going to replace all 4 CVs because they've had an absolute flogging. And when you've got cars, especially driving through the front wheels like 200 series and Y62s do, if you do get a bit of a twist in those CVs, you'll wonder why the front steering goes like this, and you go and take for a wheel alignment and you can never get it out. It's actually the twisted CV. It actually makes it wobble through the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So I'll replace all the CVs and I don't think I'll have any drama. Well, thanks Craig again, mate.
Pleasure, mate.
So stay tuned for the next episode where Craig and I actually hook in and fix this thing and put all new parts back in it. And what I'm really looking forward to is Craig retuning this thing to back having all the ponies. So stay tuned, Dirty Mudders, and make sure you have a dirty muddy weekend. Thanks guys.